Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day.
Hello and welcome back to Money Matters, proudly brought to you by Nedbank Insurance. I'm your host, Ropiwa Madzena, and today we're wrapping up the first series of educational conversations about all things, yep, you guessed it, money. Over the past few weeks, we've unpacked various aspects of insurance, from choosing the right cover, understanding your policy, to how to make a successful claim. We've spoken about insurance at different life stages and even busted some myths that often hold people back from getting the cover that they need. Experts explained in simple and plain language why you need the right insurance at any life stage, the importance of choosing insurance you can trust, understanding key details in your insurance cover, including what is actually covered and what is not, and how to avoid issues and delays when making a claim. Throughout the series, we were not only educated by experts, but also heard from people like you and me who shared their experiences dealing with insurance. The stories range from disappointments with declined claims to great experiences in times of need. We also busted some myths, and this was my favorite thing to do, things we often hear about insurance that need to be corrected. This included myths about what is covered by insurance and what is not, whether you even need insurance at all, beliefs that insurance companies will look for any reason not to pay out, and many others. There's a lot to process from what we have covered over the past few weeks. I hope you've made plenty of notes and have started actioning some of the lessons, like ensuring your family knows where to find important documents required to process a claim. I also hope that you have taken out all your policy documents and checked if you've got the right cover, your responsibilities as part of the cover, and any exclusions to note. Now, many of you have asked if we can sum it all up in one conversation and highlight the key takeaways, both lessons and actions you can take. So today, we're going to do exactly that. We're pulling together all things insurance into simple, actionable lessons. Now, this will help you assess if you have the right cover with the right insurance provider at the right time, given your personal circumstances. Our guest today is the big boss at Nedbank Insurance, Walter Marta. He's the managing executive of Nedbank Insurance. Now, he leads the strategic direction and growth of the business with a strong focus on innovation, customer value, and culture. Walter has over 25 years of experience in the financial services sector. He's passionate about making insurance more accessible, more affordable, and of course, relevant to all South Africans. Welcome, Walter.
Thanks, Raf. It's really great to be here.
What have you made about all the series that we've had over the last few weeks?
Yeah, it's been really amazing to listen to yourself and all of the listeners, share all of their experiences. I enjoyed mostly the different stories that they shared, but ultimately, what I think is important for me is these are our clients or our future clients, and we really should be hearing about what they say so that we can make it really easy and simple for them to do business with us. I actually enjoyed mostly the reference to using plain language and some people referring to the font 8, that they can't read the T's and C's of the policies. So I'm really excited about this because my team and I at Nedbank Insurance are really passionate about making it easy, accessible and affordable for all South Africans to take up insurance. And lastly, just to thank you for really creating the correct conversation and making it relatable to your listeners.
Oh, thank you very much, Walt. I mean, the conversations have been truly informative for me as the host. They also left me with key questions about my own insurance needs. So thanks for supporting these conversations focused on consumer education and overall not just pushing products and services. You're still listening to Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. As you've just heard, I have Walter Marta, who's the managing executive of Nedbank Insurance, in the hot seat today. After a short break, Walter will help us pull together key actionable lessons on ensuring you have the right insurance cover. We will be covering the following. Do you even need insurance cover? Are you covered by insurance you can trust? Do you understand what you are actually covered for and not covered for? And how can you avoid issues and delays at time of claiming? So stay tuned.
Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. It's not just any other insurance, it's insurance you can bank on every day. In partnership with Alex FM, Westside FM, Sosha FM, Kofifi FM, Teta FM, Izwi Mzansi, Radio Kwezi, Highway Radio, Bembe FM, Alfred Nzo FM, Mahikeng Radio, Nkangala Radio, Radio KC FM, Radio Zibonele. Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day.
Welcome to Money Matters, proudly brought to you by Nedbank Insurance. We're here with Walter Marto, who's the managing executive of Nedbank Insurance, to help us make sense of all things insurance. Walter, one of the most common questions we received is whether people even need insurance at all, and if they do, how they can ensure that their cover is adequate for different stages of their lives. Can you help us answer this question? Do I need insurance?
Raf, at the most basic level, insurance really pools small contributions from many people to cover a loss or the damage from a risk insurable event. It's as simple as that, really. You think about it, if you owned a car that was, let's say, 50,000 Rand and it gets stolen, you'll need 50,000 Rand to replace it. So you either have to save for that money or you've got to take out a loan, and it might be your second loan on that vehicle, and therefore it makes it unaffordable. Insurance, on the other hand, allows you to make affordable small contributions, actually, a month on month, let's say 500 or less a month, to cover that 50,000 Rand car. So if it is stolen, you can actually replace it. I think importantly, insurance will cover even if you've only paid 1 month or 2 months of insurance premiums. You don't really have to cover the full 50,000 with your premiums that you pay as you would if you saved. So insurance should really be considered as part of your financial plan and reflect your personal circumstances. And I like to refer to it as financial resilience to protect you in that moment of need that you require to replace that asset or a lump sum gets paid to a loved one.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Insurance covers the risk of loss or damage that could lead to a financial setback for me or my family, depending on what's happening at the time. So I've got that. But life is consistently changing. How can I make sure that I'm still adequately covered as my circumstances change?
Yeah, it's a great question, that and an important thing to focus on with insurance, because your risks change as your life changes and your responsibilities change. If you think back to when I was very young and I was 25 years old and I lived in a flat and had contents, maybe I just needed to cover the contents of my flat and maybe the obligation that I might leave behind to my loved one if I passed away. As I got older and had children and had a wife, I then had to obviously insure more of my assets and have a greater obligation to leave my wife and children with a lump sum. And then as you get older and retire, you start thinking about your legacy, leaving something behind for your children, and therefore you might need more, a bigger lump sum from a life insurance perspective.
Yeah. And I suppose it's not just about having insurance, Walter. It's about having the right insurance for the stage that you are in your life.
Exactly. And at Nedbank Insurance, we call it cover that grows with you. So your policy should reflect your current reality. That means you need to check it consistently and regularly. Significant changes in your life, like getting married or having children, can change that. And you need to make sure that you're adequately covered for that. Otherwise, your cover is not going to evolve as you evolve as a human.
And that's something you have to be conscious of, that when you reach that life stage, make sure that you're touching base with the insurance policy, right?
That's correct. You need to make sure that every single life stage as it changes, you reflect on it and you make sure that those covers that you need either for changes in protecting your assets or protecting your loved ones is aligned to that.
Now, we've had a great tip, treat your insurance like a financial health check. And it's recommended that reviewing your policy every year or after any major life event to make sure that it still meets your needs. How important is that?
Very important, Raf, because it's not like you should do your insurance needs, take out the policy and then do nothing. That's not what it's about. It's about updating your policy and making sure it matches as your life changes. It's like your normal life. You don't want your employer not to give you an increase every year. You don't want to get better at what you do through your life stages. So insurance is like that. You should continuously reflect on where you are and renew it. So I'm very lucky. My birthday is in the middle of the year. I like to reflect on my insurance in the middle of the year, halfway between the year. So I use my birthday as my reminder. You might use your insurance policy increases. You might use your New Year's resolutions after you've done those as you come back in January to review your insurance policy. Whatever it is, you need to make sure that you're continuously reviewing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's really helpful, continuously reviewing it, and it's not like you're saying buy everything, right? That's not what you're saying at all.
Yes, you need to actually take up insurance that reflects your situation in life. You would really be wasting your money if you try to cover everything. And I often use this example is when you take out vehicle insurance, really think twice about taking that car hire benefit, because maybe you don't need your vehicle regularly. You maybe only really can get away with taking an Uber once a week. So therefore you could save that money. Or maybe you take out a small amount of life cover, and as you get older, you can increase that life cover because the obligation that you're leaving behind when you're much younger is less than what you are when you're older, when you want to leave a legacy for your children.
Yeah, so it's really about matching your cover to your current lifestyle and I suppose anticipating what's next.
It definitely needs to anticipate what's coming next as the risks that you face is what's actually changing week in, week out, or year in, year out. And I think it's important. If you think in South Africa 10 years ago, we weren't insuring solar panels.
Yes.
Now suddenly we need to think about insuring our solar panels, otherwise we're not going to have power. So that your insurance does need to cover that. And we also need to make sure that we're taking out the right cover for the right risk that we're facing. If you're using your vehicle to earn an income, it's really important that you think seriously about what cover you need to be able to protect that income. You might find you're going to drive your car into a pothole and now you have to replace the tire and the rim, but you can't get your car to the gig that night. So best you take out cover that protects your tire and rim so that you can replace those tire and rims and get to your gig and get your income.
Yeah, I mean, very interesting insights to be able to reflect on all things insurance. And there you have it. You need insurance to protect you from loss or damage that could cause financial hardship. Your insurance, good people, is personal and should reflect where you are in life and what you can afford. Review your cover whenever there's a major change, buying a house, changing cars, or even getting a new cell phone. It's that simple. At minimum, review it once a year. And where you're unsure, service providers like Nedbank Insurance are there to help you assess your needs and provide the most relevant and affordable cover. Thanks for those insights, Walter.
It's a pleasure.
It's all well and good to know what insurance you need at each life stage, but there's nothing worse than paying for insurance your whole life only to find out at claim stage that it was all a waste. Research shows a growing number of South Africans don't trust service providers, including insurers. Many are unsure if the insurance will actually pay out. So trust is a critical question. Do you trust your insurer to pay out when you need them, when you need to claim? That's what we'll chat to Walter about next after the break. You don't want to miss that.
Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day. In just a few easy steps, you can protect your loved ones by taking out life cover of up to 3 million rand. Log into the Money app and go to the Insurance tab. Give us consent to share your information with us. Complete a few questions about yourself. Select the cover amount you would like. Review your code and accept the terms and conditions. Select your debit order date. Nominate your beneficiaries. Confirm your cover, and just like that, you are protected. It's insurance you can bank on every day. Nedbank Insurance. Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day.
Welcome back to Money Matters, proudly brought to you by Nedbank Insurance. We're joined by Walter Marto, who is the Managing Executive of Nedbank Insurance, to help us make sense of all things insurance. Walter, now research shows that many South Africans don't trust their insurers to pay out when it comes to making a claim. What do you think causes this erosion of trust?
Ralph, it's true that in many service sectors in South Africa, that trust is declining. When it comes to the insurance industry, there are several contributing factors, I believe. I think they're related to unlicensed insurers operating in the market, clients potentially being sold something that they're not really covered for, and then a poor understanding of what is actually covered or excluded, and then sometimes clients not disclosing important information when taking out cover. So there are various reasons behind this growing lack of trust.
That makes it even more important for there to be a sense of honesty on both sides, from the client and from the insurance company.
Absolutely. And this is something we take very seriously at Nedbank Insurance. Research across different service sectors shows that banks generally score higher on trust than others, which actually really makes sense because we all entrust banks with our money. So at Nedbank Insurance, we build on that foundation by offering easy to understand, affordable, and relevant solutions for our clients. We call it insurance you can bank on every day. Trust is earned through credibility and consistency. In insurance, the real test is how claims are handled.
Yeah, I suppose insurance is just a promise until you actually need to claim.
Exactly. And for us, it's about how we manage those claims, how we educate our clients about their cover, and using plain language to make sure that they understand what they're covered for in the communication. Our policies are simple to understand, and our claims process is straightforward. Over the past 5 years, we've paid out more than R1 billion in claims every year, actually. And our funeral claims, we pay 75% of them in under 30 minutes after we've received all the relevant documentation, which means most families can actually get their funeral arrangements underway as soon as possible. So we're constantly working to be an insurer you can trust.
Yeah, and paying out funeral cover in under 30 minutes is impressive, right? But quick payouts really matter, especially during times of grief.
Absolutely. When you're dealing with that moment of vulnerability or loss of something, the last thing you need is actually an unnecessary delay or being sent on the runaround because your claim is not going to be processed. It's the moment of truth for all the promises that were made before. We continuously look for ways to improve the claims experience and remove the headaches from the process. At claim stage, what clients need most is empathy and a very swift response.
And I suppose what helps that swift response, Walter, is making sure that you've got the correct documentation.
Yes, and making sure you got the correct documentation is easier said than done.
Yeah.
So I would encourage one to make sure you know where it's stored, you know what's required, so that your claim can be processed efficiently and in the correct manner.
Yeah. So there's nothing worse than having to chase your insurer for updates while also trying to arrange a funeral, right? As we've been talking about. So how do I know if I can trust my insurance provider?
I think there are really two things you should focus on, and you should maybe ask yourself these questions. Firstly, is your insurer a registered and licensed insurer? And what is the reputation in the market of that insurer that you're planning to partner with, as I would say? And you can check the first, whether they're licensed or registered. You can go to the FSCA website and see whether they're a registered body. And the second one is you can actually do research to find out if that insurer is actually trusted and says what they say they do.
Now, there's a lot of chatter on social media about people's experiences with insurance companies, and that's not always great if you have a look.
Yes, social media has become a bit of a headache for us in the corporate world. But I think importantly, there's lots of voices in social media, and some of them are good and bad. But I think importantly, one does need to look for consistent trends and not just one single voice. Because I think anyone can say something bad about me, but when lots of people say something bad about me, the trend is a concern. So at Nedbank Insurance, we're very proud to have one of the highest actually customer experience scores measured by what is called the Net Promoter Score, or referred to often as NPS. The score really indicates how likely clients are to recommend you to others. So I'm very happy to say, and we've done a lot of work of this over many years, that a lot of our clients are very happy to recommend us to their friends and family.
And before we wrap up our chat here, our conversation now reminds me of a myth that insurance companies or providers look for reasons not to pay the claim. And this is obviously not true, is it?
No, it's not. I think there's a misunderstanding often, either from what clients see as an insurable event and it's not insurance. An example would be is that you haven't maintained your house and you have a leak on your roof and you think it's an insurable event. An insurable event is a hailstorm or a tree falling on your roof. That's an insurable event. So I think that's clients need to be aware of that. And then the second part is there are often exclusions actually in policies where clients are not aware of what's excluded. I have an accident and I've been drinking and driving. My claim will not be paid. And if I knew that before, I wouldn't drink and drive, so I wouldn't put myself in that circumstance.
Positive feedback from existing clients is indeed one of the strongest indicators of whether I can trust an insurer. Congratulations to you and your team at Nedbank Insurance for consistently scoring high on customer experience. That must feel really good as a business.
Thank you, Raf. And like I said, it's been an incredibly long journey. It's lots of small incremental pieces of work that result in a client having a delightful experience with us. Our goal really is to delight our clients because we need to continuously seek to improve this over time. And most importantly, it's what our clients actually demand of us.
And the key takeaway for me about trust is do your homework beyond looking at the price. There's no point in paying for cover you think is good for you and your family, only to find it was a waste of money when you need it the most. So thanks for all those insights, Walter.
Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day.
So, Walter, you've assessed your personal circumstances and done your homework on a trustworthy insurer. You've gone ahead and signed up for cover. What is the next step?
The next step is to carefully read through your policy documents so you know exactly what you're covered for. And, as I said, what is excluded, and how much you pay and how often you need to pay it, and your rights and responsibility as a client, and how to make a claim when you need to make that claim.
Reading policy documents can seem very daunting because of all the jargon that's perhaps used in there. How have insurers like Nedbank Insurance made it simple for people to engage their policy documents so that they know exactly what it is they're covered for and all the other details that you mentioned?
It's a great question because I think insurers historically always wanted clients to be lawyers, actually, to understand all of that
Yes.
technical jargon. So I suggest you go back to law school and learn. No, I'm just kidding. I think the best way is really insurance need to make sure that they're speaking the language of their clients, which is really just simple, plain language, rather than using these crazy actuarial words and languages that clients don't understand. I think also what's important is to highlight to clients very clearly what is included and what is excluded. And I think that will really help clients to understand what is in their policy documents rather than having this technical jargon that no one understands.
And have you found that consumers or clients don't read their policy documents and only find out certain details at claim stage?
Absolutely. And that is the worst outcome for us as an insurer because we really want clients to pay their premiums so that when they claim, we can actually pay the claim because we're trying to protect the risk that they face day to day. So I would really encourage clients to read their policy, not only when they get it the first time, but maybe at that anniversary stage where their policy is renewed or they're reviewing their circumstances, they go back and reread their insurance policy. And if they got any questions, ask their insurer.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Walter. I mean, there's many more that we'll be discussing next with Walter about understanding your insurance cover. Stay tuned.
Money Matters, Powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day. Did you know you can get up to 100,000 Rand in funeral cover from as little as 50 Rand a month? Maria didn't want her children burdened with costs one day. So she planned ahead and took out Nedbank Insurance funeral cover and made sure her family wouldn't carry that financial weight during their grief. Ready to move to insurance you can trust? Visit the nearest Nedbank branch. Find us online on nedbank.co.za/insurance. Use the Nedbank Money app or call us on 0800 333 111. Nedbank Insurance. It's not just any other insurance. It's insurance you can bank on every day. You're listening to Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. It's not just any other insurance. It's insurance you can bank on every day.
Welcome back to Money Matters, proudly brought to you by Nedbank Insurance. We're here with Walter Marta, who is the Managing Executive of Nedbank Insurance, to help us make sense of all things insurance. Walter, insurance policy documents can often be really complex and overwhelming. You know, they're usually full of fine print and might as well be in Greek. Why is that?
Raf, I don't speak Greek, and I'm not a lawyer, so I struggle a bit with it. But I think a lot of it comes down to history. You know, a policy document is essentially a contract between a client and the insurer. And as soon as you mention contract terms, lawyers get involved and charge us a lot of fees. But you definitely don't need to be a lawyer or have a law degree to understand your policy documents. The insurance industry can do much more to make sense of these documents so they're simpler and clearer. But at Nedbank Insurance, we constantly review our documents to use plain language so that our clients can easily understand what they're signing up for.
Now, some of the policies I've seen are also really long. Are there specific sections where we should pay extra attention to instead of going through the entire document?
Yes, the policy schedule is critical, but I would recommend you go through the whole thing. The policy schedule is basically a summary of the key points of your insurance policy. Important information that you provide is included there about yourself and the items that you want to insure. It also has the limits that apply to those items that insure and how much you need to pay for the cover and when. And that's usually monthly in most of insurance contracts. It also details the exclusions. It also details the waiting periods that might apply if they're applicable. And along with your schedule, your insurer will give you the full policy terms and conditions, or referred to as T's and C's, which really explain the claims process and other important information.
Now, most of that sounds straightforward, except maybe exclusions. And you've spoken about exclusions quite a bit. But what exactly are they?
Exclusions are really specific situations or conditions your policy doesn't cover. I think let's use an example. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. You know, your life cover policy might exclude certain preconditions related to health or death if it's a criminal activity and something happened to you in that criminal activity. Some policies actually exclude participation in risky activities. You know, you might, I don't know if you like skydiving or or skiing in the Swiss Alps. So it's really wise to check your insurance cover to see if something goes wrong. You know, at Nedbank Insurance, we clearly actually explain these exclusions in the policy documents. They're really easy to understand. And it's really important for clients to read these sections carefully, or if they're unsure, to ask for help. The exclusion section is definitely one you have to pay close attention to.
And are my responsibilities as a client only to pay the premium then?
No. Unfortunately, we put some other responsibilities on you, which go beyond paying premiums, and it really depends on the specific terms of your policy. You know, if you're a homeowner, and I often refer to this internally and with external people I speak with, you have the responsibility to maintain your home, just like you have the responsibility to maintain your vehicle. You look after your own tires and your own windscreen wipers. You send your car in for a service, and that's your obligation as from an insurance perspective as well. Also, it's your responsibility to keep your personal details and your beneficiaries up to date. So, you know, if you're buying new furniture or you move house and live in a different house, you should let your insurer know about that. Also, your contact details are really important because your insurer needs to get hold of you. And then there's definitely more to keep track of than just paying your premiums.
That's an important takeaway, what you need to be covered for, what you're not covered for, and what's expected of you. Also, just to check if there's any waiting periods or limits on certain benefits so you don't get caught off guard. I mean, at the very least, go through the policy schedule very carefully.
Absolutely. I mean, the two things, the policy schedule and the full policy wording actually tell you everything. And as I said before, I think it's critical that you go through that, not only once, at least once a year. And if it's unclear, really just pick up the phone and ask your insurer. Insurers would much rather answer the question early than deal the frustration later because it wasn't clear. And as I said, at Nedbank Insurance, we very much want our clients to pay premium and claim for valid claims. And remember, there's no silly question when it comes to insurance. It's really important that you understand your policy schedule and your T's and C's.
Yeah, thanks, Walter. That's really helpful. I feel a lot more comfortable, going through policy documents now that I understand. Until now, they've just been downright intimidating, and it just drops into your mailbox and you leave it there, never to be seen again, right?
Yeah, thanks, Rolf. I think if policy documents feel that way, and they feel intimidating, I think one needs to challenge one insurer that they need to be a little bit more simple. And that's definitely been a massive priority for us at Nedbank Insurance. We want to make the client feel that it's simple and really easy to do insurance, because insurance is really important. It protects you at that time of need.
So, Walter, what's the next important aspect to think about after understanding the cover as well as the terms of the cover?
Yeah, the next important thing, and arguably the most important thing in insurance, is to make sure that you avoid problems or delays when you're making an insurance claim.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that's where things get real, claiming on your insurance. And that's what we'll be discussing after the break. Catch you then.
Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. It's not just any other insurance. It's insurance you can bank on every day. In partnership with Alex FM, Westside FM, Sosha FM, Kofifi FM, Teta FM, Izwilo Mzansi, Radio Kwezi, Highway Radio, Bembe FM, Alfred Nzo FM, Mahiken Radio, Nkangala Radio, Radio KC FM, Radio Zibonele. Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day.
Welcome back to Money Matters, proudly brought to you by Nedbank Insurance. We are here with Walter Marta, who's the Managing Executive of Nedbank Insurance, to help us make sense of all things insurance. Now, Walter, when someone faces a crisis and needs to claim on their insurance, whether it's the death of a loved one, an accident or damage or loss of something valuable in their lives, what is the most important thing people should know about making a claim?
Yeah, Rolf, I think claiming on insurance is really the moment of truth. It's the point where you find out if you had the cover you thought you had or not. So, in our industry and in Nedbank Insurance, we call this the moment of truth. That's why it's so important to take out insurance with a registered insurer and to read and understand the terms and conditions of your policy. At Nedbank Insurance, we hate having to tell clients that a claim has been rejected. We'd rather help them through the uncertain times so that their claim is paid and they end up on the other side in the same position they were if there was a damage to their assets or their loved ones were looked after if it was a death. That's why we focus heavily on client education, helping people understand their insurance and how to avoid claim rejections. The first step is to ensure that you're insured with a trustworthy insurer. Provide all the necessary information when taking out your policy and keep your policy updated as your life changes. If you do this, you've already solved more than half the potential stress around claims. The next step then is to lodge the claim with the insurer as soon as the insured event occurs. How you make a claim really varies by policy, but you usually find the relevant information in your documents or on your insurer's website. It's vital to keep these details handy for yourself and your family. With all claims, the sooner you lodge and submit the required documentation, the quicker the payout. For example, our funeral policies, our clients can receive their claims in about 12 hours. Most of our clients, in actual fact, 75% they receive them in 30 minutes. And I think the most important thing is to make sure that the documents you submit are correct the first time you submit them. Otherwise, you just get a workaround the whole time.
What documents are usually needed to make sure a claim is processed smoothly?
This really depends on the type of cover that you have. When you register the claim, the insurer will really guide you. So, as I referred to funeral claims, you'll typically need a death certificate, and then you'll need this form from the Department of Home Affairs, which is called the DH1663. No need to remember that. It's really the document that confirms the passing of someone. You'll need a certified copy of the ID of the deceased, as well as the beneficiary. And then you need to complete a claim form and bank details so we know who's claiming and where to pay. You also need a police report if the death was unnatural, and that's really to help validate the claim. And having the right documents up front really does help avoid delays and speed up processing. But I'm very happy to say at Nedbank Insurance, we're always looking for ways to make things easier for our clients. So a lot of these documents you don't have to submit to us, because we automatically check with the Department of Home Affairs whether that form that I can't remember the number of is valid. We know your bank details, so we know who to pay it to, and we really encourage our clients to update their beneficiary details so that we don't have to ask them at claim stage.
And that's really important because it adds to the customer experience, doesn't it?
It makes it really easy, and I'll share a little secret with you. Not a lot of people know this. The fastest we've ever paid a claim is less than 10 seconds.
No. Really?
Because all of those documents are already available. So all we're doing is just checking, and then we can pay out the claim.
That's very, very impressive, Walter. You seem pretty chuffed about it too.
I am very chuffed.
And what about claims for car accidents? What documents are needed there? Because you know the state of our roads and whatnot, and there are many car accidents that are reported out there on a daily basis.
Yeah, car accidents are a little bit more tricky, and I'd encourage you to use your cell phone to help you with this. You really need a detailed account of the incident, including the drivers that were involved, a copy of your driver's license, the police case number, and as most people know, you must report that incident to the nearest police station and get that case number. And as I said, use your cell phone. Take photos of that actual police report when you log it. Take pictures of the actual accident, how it happened. Take the driver's license of the person who was involved in the accident with you. Take the picture of the license disc on the car, etc., etc. The more information you have, the better your claims process will go.
Now, some completeness and accuracy of documents really matter, right? What are some of the common issues that cause delays in claims?
Yeah, the biggest cause really, as you said, is incomplete, but also incorrect information, actually. So missing a document or having the wrong document actually pauses the entire claims process. So in funeral claims, a common delay that we often see is that we don't have a beneficiary that's nominated in the policy. And this is actually a disaster, because you actually have to pay the proceeds to the deceased estate, which requires a letter of authority from the master of the High Court. Now, obtaining this letter takes time, and winding up the estate can take even longer, meaning the family doesn't get the money that they need. And the intention actually of a funeral policy is that it pays out very quickly. That is the one, and the legislation actually states that you have to pay a funeral policy in 48 hours actually. So the longest that claim will be is actually 2 days. But if it goes through the deceased estates process, it takes really long. There is a way that a family member can approach the master of the High Court and ask for a letter of executorship or a letter of authority. But this really does depend on the size of the estate, but it creates a massive amount of complexity. So as I said, critically for life policies and funeral policies, it's really important that you nominate the beneficiary at the time of taking up the policy or when your life circumstances change, so that claim can be paid very quickly.
I quickly want to ask you about waiting periods while we're speaking about insurance and claims, and so that one knows about the waiting period if a claim should come about. Tell us exactly what waiting periods are and how exactly they work.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Waiting periods are there really to protect the insurance company and the insured. to make sure that the policy that they're taking up is valid. Otherwise, what clients would do is they would have preconditions that would then be pre this instatement of that policy. Waiting periods are often between a few weeks to a few months. A funeral policy can be up to 6 months. I'm very happy to say that at Nedbank Insurance, if you can prove you have previous cover, we will waive those waiting periods because there's no need for that. And then, as we referred to earlier, is that the exclusions are also there to try and align themselves to the waiting period. So the exclusion could be there up until the waiting period passes, and then that exclusion is no longer valid. And that's really good for the client, but also protects the insurer so that clients don't defraud insurance companies.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound silly or anything, but this means that during a waiting period, you can't claim.
Unfortunately, for some things, yes, but for others, you can.
Okay.
So for waiting periods, most of them are related to intentional death, like suicide. But for accidental death, insurance companies will pay in those waiting periods.
There you have it. Lodge your claim as soon as possible after a covered loss or damage, and make sure you or your family can access and submit the correct documents easily. Also, always nominate and keep your beneficiaries updated on policies like life cover to avoid delays and family disputes when a payout is due. Thanks, Walter, for these important lessons on making insurance claim experience a little less stressful.
It's a pleasure, Ralph.
Join us after the short break for a wrap-up and key takeaways you won't want to miss.
Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day. Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. Insurance you can bank on every day.
Walter, as we wrap up, what would you say your final message is?
My final message is this. Insurance isn't a luxury. It's actually a necessity. It's how you protect your assets and the people you love. You work hard to build your life, so take the necessary steps to safeguard it. I encourage everyone to take a few minutes this week to review your policy. Pull out your documents and ask yourself, does this still protect what matters most to me? If the answer isn't a confident yes, do something about it without delay. Don't keep pushing it to the next day and the next day and the next day. Talk to your insurer. We're here to help. You know, today we've discussed some really important things. The first was ensuring you have the right cover for your personal circumstances. Then we made sure that it's with a credible, licensed insurer that you can trust. It is really important also to understand exactly what you're covered for and what your cover includes. And then we discussed knowing what is required to avoid any issues and delays with making a claim.
One thing we didn't get to touch on, and I'm hoping we can touch on it now as we wrap up our discussion, Walter, is the fact that we are in a cost of living crisis as South Africa, and watching the series and understanding insurance and insurance products better, it's also important that you don't have to take out insurance for everything, right?
Yes, to only take out for what you need, but also shop around. Shop around, see what's the same and try and pay a little bit less. And I challenge you, come see what we have at Nedbank Insurance, because most people listening to this probably don't know that Nedbank has insurance. And come and see what we offer and come and see the value that we can bring to customers. So we're here to help in the in the tough times.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that you want. You want value for your money.
Correct.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That's why you're the boss and I'm not. Thanks, Walter. Now, and thanks to all our listeners. I hope these takeaway lessons are actionable and mark the start of a new chapter on how you manage and protect your finances. Until next time, stay informed, stay insured, and remember, money matters, and so does protecting it. Take that step to review your cover and secure your peace of mind. I'm Ropwa Madzena, and thanks for being a part of the Money Matters conversations.
Money Matters, powered by Nedbank Insurance. It's not just any other insurance. It's insurance you can bank on every day. In partnership with Alex FM, Westside FM, Sosha FM, Kofifi FM, Teta FM, Izwi Lomzansi, Radio Kwezi, Highway Radio, Bembe FM, Alfred Nzo FM, Mahiken Radio, Nkangala Radio, Radio KC FM, Radio Zibonele,